Hi, so this is my post responding to this week's symposium on Guantanamo. Um, so I was fortunate enough to be able to stay for the entire 4 hours, and I think in doing so, the symposium really was able to kind of provide me with a framework for the process of memorialization, and kind of the point, and I think that each speaker really gave wonderful insight into the purpose behind a memorial, how everyone sees a memorial differently, how some, how certain monuments serve certain purposes, and so on. And I think I was most struck, though, by a lot of what Professor Julian Bonder spoke about in his discussion of kind of the purpose of a monument or a museum from the perspective of the architect. So I was really kind of interested when he was talking about the ethical function of a memorial, that it's kind of, he said, to take us beyond what we see and kind of to connect us to our own humanity, which I thought was really interesting, especially given the last speaker, Mark Falkhoff, when he was talking about the book of poetry of the prisoners that he had compiled, and someone in the audience, I guess, shared that part of what struck her was that she felt connected to their humanity. So that there's this sense that memorialization in its various forms are a way of remembering kind of the individual and a way of connecting us, the outsider, to the event, and a way to kind of humanitize what happened. And so I thought that, and then Julian Bonder spoke even more about that. He was talking about that these monuments are kind of, as he said, like a theater for memory, which I thought was really interesting, because I do definitely think that there's an element of almost play acting when people go to see a monument. There's kind of a solemn face you take on, and you maybe don't speak, or if you do, it's in hushed tones to allow everyone to have their moment. So it is kind of a very theatrical experience. You're often like standing there in awe of, this giant something, or, you're saddened, emotions are evoked. But I also thought that it was really interesting when he was talking about, he was saying, like, how does this space demand engagement? And so it goes back to that kind of theatrical feel, that you build and you create something that's going to evoke emotion, that's going to command something of the viewers and the people who are going to come and see it. And I think that he also said something, that the other thing that he said that really struck me was he talked about how there's no way for anyone else who wasn't there to experience fully the trauma of the people who kind of had first-hand experience whatever the event was, and that the purpose of the monument or the memorial is not to recreate that moment, or not to try and force other people to share that exact experience, but rather the purpose is to kind of help begin this healing process and help get other people thinking about it, and he defines, he traced the word monument back to its original warn, and so kind of that they serve as a warning, so that things like this don't happen in the future, which I think was really interesting in the context of the discussion on Guantanamo, because that's happening right now. So how do we create something to warn people to stop it from happening again, which I think is a really interesting challenge.